Hey there guys, it's Pineapple, and today we're going to talk about Bakugo and My Hero Academia Season 6, continuing our series of talking about what characters are going to be doing and where their storylines are going to be going in the next season of My Hero Academia, just in case I don't feel like covering it at the time because some sort of problem with bones, or I like how they ruined last season. So I want to get a lot of these videos out of the way now, and then we'll see how I feel about it when the actual anime is out, and I feel like it's never a bad time to talk about certain characters that I really feel excited to talk about, so let's just do it. And I want to remind you guys that as an official partner for Gamer Subs, I can give you guys 10% off on your Gamer Subs, and this month there's actually a brand new really cool zombie slayer kind of cup, right? It's kind of like one of those waifu cups that everyone's kind of going crazy for, where the clothing changes depending on the liquid they have inside, and I believe there's also like a shirt and stuff. So anything that you get on the website through my link, which you'll find in the description, you'll get 10% off. And to be honest with you, I do get a tiny bit of that as well, but that is one of the ways that you could choose to support the channel, right? You could use my link, you could use code Pineapple on Gamer Subs, and yeah, save 10% off. So I just want to let you know that. And of course, another thing that I want you to do is to subscribe to the channel, right? I have a lot of new viewers this month, right? And if a lot of you guys, from what I'm seeing in my analytics, would subscribe, we would hit 300K pretty quickly. Like, we would definitely hit it before the end of the year, which is my goal for hitting it. I know sometimes it takes like a couple videos to decide whether or not you're gonna like subscribe, but you know, some of you, it's been a couple, right? So, you know, let's go, let's do it. I'm gonna push you to subscribe, hit that notify button so you make sure you see all of my uploads, and yeah. But let's get into talking about Bakugo and My Hero Academia Season 6 after that intro. Hit it! So to talk about where Bakugo's going in My Hero Academia Season 6, I feel like we have to do a little bit of recap and talk about where Bakugo was left off at the end of My Hero Academia Season 5. And to a certain extent, it's kind of hard to remember what scenes they did or didn't include in the last season, right? Because they kind of shifted the order of things, and you know, the stuff that should have happened at the very end of the season kind of ended up happening like randomly before the My Villain Academia arc even started, right? So while it is a little hard to entirely remember where Bakugo's character arc exactly ended in the last season of My Hero Academia, we know what he's been through in that last arc, right? He's been through a significant amount of training with Endeavor. He's been through a significant amount of growth, as Bakugo, I believe, goes through in every arc, or at least in every season of My Hero Academia where he's present in the story, right? Every time he's on screen, he's growing a little bit, right? Until he reaches his kind of final form, which we'll start seeing maybe in this season. Maybe we'll see it if they do the Vigilante Deku arc in this season. We'll talk about it a little later in the video. But at the beginning of My Hero Academia Season 6, Bakugo starts his journey very much like a lot of the characters in this arc are going to start their journey, embroiled in the middle of a very sudden and very heated war arc, right? So the heroes have this plan that they have planned out very thoroughly, that they're going to ambush the villains in all the places that they stay, right? And pretty much like only tell the most trustable heroes about this operation. And it seems like, oh, you know, that's good, that's a great operation, that's a great plan. The issue with me, they're using child soldiers, you know what I mean? Like, they're using the students at UA and various schools and whatnot as heroes pretty much in this instance, right? And I know they have the provisional hero licenses, so they are allowed to act as heroes, but like it's kind of like a war, you know what I mean? Like, maybe it's not intended to be like that, like a war on villains. It was more intended to be like a big joint operation, like a giant team up mission. And you know what, the more that I think about it, I don't think the danger was so obvious for the heroes, right? I can kind of not forgive, but I can kind of understand why they thought it might be okay to bring the students along and include them in this operation, because they didn't really know the threat level of what they were dealing with, right? They had like Hawks kind of explaining, hey, this is everything that happened and this is what's going on, you know what I mean? So like, sure, you have the data from Hawks, like Hawks did give the heroes a lot of information, right? Especially through Endeavor, and that information got everywhere. So to a certain extent, I feel like they knew what they were dealing with, but like, you can see once the dominoes start falling and once things really start happening, they really didn't know what they were dealing with, right? Like, there was no way to tell what Shigaraki was going to be capable of once he got out of that pod, right? And that's something that you can see that they were wholly and entirely almost unprepared for and unprepared to deal with. But Bakugo finds his place in the middle of all that chaos in the beginning of this arc alongside Deku, right? And his kind of role here is going to sort of be like a protector of Deku to a certain extent, like to the extent that he's able to do that, right? Because, you know, there is a shifting power dynamic, very much so, that we're going to see in this season of My Hero Academia, where for most of the series, Bakugo has been much more capable than Deku, right? Outside of like little outbursts that Deku is capable of doing, Bakugo in general has proven that he's kept up to a certain extent with Deku's development and always shown a way to like shine above what Deku is capable of in the same situations, beyond when Deku decides, you know, I'm gonna sacrifice life and limb now to make sure I go above and beyond anything anyone else is capable of but me. You know what I mean? And besides those instances, Bakugo has been doing a very, very good job at keeping his place in the hierarchy of the power dynamic between them. And anyone who wants to argue with me about that, look at their last fight. In this season, we see the power dynamic shift a little bit now. As Deku has kind of come into his own and started mastering One for All a little more, like, he's really, really getting to the place where he's starting to outpace Bakugo. He's starting to, like, outperform Bakugo in certain ways. And Bakugo takes notice of this, like, a lot in this arc. Like, there's a section... Obviously, when we do these videos, we do get into the content a little bit. So, you know, I kind of like to think these videos are for people who are waiting for the season, but don't want to wait too much, and they don't read the manga, but they kind of want some information. You know, you want to know some things. You just don't want to know everything. There is a scene early on in this arc where we have Deku and Bakugo kind of like heading to a location together, right? And Deku is going like, I don't even know if it's literally his full speed at that point, but he's bolting. He's going. And Bakugo finds himself like, whoa, like, dude, like, he's faster than me now. Yeah, like, his traversal, even through my flying, and you know how fast Bakugo is, like, even though I'm flying and I'm going as fast as I feel like I can, Deku is getting, like, further than me. Like, there's a growing distance between us, and Bakugo has to kind of deal with those insecurities a lot in this season. And it's not just based on insecurities around like wanting to be better than Deku. We find out a lot about like the motivations behind that, and it's not all just jealousy, right? Part of it is definitely like Bakugo understanding Deku on a level that a lot of people in the series don't really, right? They've seen glimpses of it, and it seems like All Might doesn't really even understand it. Like, we get into some of that in this arc, and where it's like, All Might, as much as you think you know Deku, like, everyone here, as much as you think you know Deku, trust me, I grew up with him. I know him better than all of you. Like, that guy is crazy, and he doesn't care about himself. And yeah, sure, he's heroic, he'll save anybody, oh yeah, but he won't save himself. You know what I mean? Like, and no one here seems to understand that as well as I do. And I really, really like how Bakugo is characterized in this arc and characterized in this season of My Hero Academia. I feel like it does his character a lot of justice, even if you don't get into the full-on kind of like vigilante Deku arc and get the end of that where Bakugo is definitely doing like a 180 to where his character was in the beginning of the series. You end up getting that in this war arc, right? Where in the beginning of the series, Bakugo is very antagonistic towards Deku and like not approving of Deku's ability to like do anything, right? Like, don't do that, don't try to outshine me, no, you know, you can't do that, nerd, I'm better than you. With Deku kind of being the key target of the villains, right? Like, the operation goes on and everything, but eventually it becomes very obvious that, oh bro, they're after One for All. So like, with Bakugo being paired with Deku, right, and following Deku around, that's a very big part of it, that like Bakugo has to know, if I'm gonna like have this power dynamic over Deku and everything, despite what he's doing, I have to protect him. And I really appreciate how Bakugo went from that role of being like the bully of Deku to now having to be the protector of Deku against Shigaraki. And I guess to get into that a little bit, right, because we do have Bakugo versus Shigaraki to a certain extent in this arc, I really, really like the dynamic between Bakugo and Shigaraki, and I really, really like the parallels. Like, there's a lot of parallels that are really inherent between those two. A lot of people say that Bakugo doesn't have an endgame villain, and I honestly disagree. I think that Shigaraki is Bakugo's endgame villain. I know that that's also Deku's endgame villain, but that is just, you know, how it works here, you know what I mean? People can share, you know, it doesn't have to just be one-to-one. It's kind of like how Mina and Kirishima, I feel like their endgame villain is Gigantomachia to a certain extent. How are they going to do that? I don't know. Acid Man around Unbreakable and then drop Kirishima off a building onto Machia's head. I don't know. They're going to have to find out some Home Alone strategy to do that. I feel like Bakugo and Deku definitely share the final villain. And there's a lot of reasons that I think for that. One is obviously that Bakugo doesn't ever like being the second, right? Like being the second choice, kind of like Dabi to a certain extent. I guess there are little inherent parallels there. But Bakugo doesn't like being seen as the second choice. He wants to be perfection. He wants to be number one. And he was kind of picked up as what we can assume is like another throwaway member or another backup member of the kind of like, you know, our extra Tomura Shigarakis, right? That All for One was collecting over the course of the series. And in that, the villain showed Bakugo that like, this is how mistakable it is. Like, you think you are a bona fide hero and that you are very heroic. Here's how mistakable your attitude is to the world, right? we are the biggest villain organization and we just put in all this work and now we're trying to recruit you because we think that's the kind of thing you would be into, that you would be into becoming a villain. And I know to Bakugo, that has to be a hit to his pride, right? Because he is such a hero. He is so devoted, like Deku, to being like an All Might style to a certain extent, right? Like that kind of iconic hero and being the best at everything he does, which includes being a hero. So I know that that had to be a big slap in the face to the Bakugo's character from Shigaraki. And then in this arc, we get a moment where Shigaraki kind of like does another big slap in the face to Bakugo, where Bakugo is trying to do his AP shot on Shigaraki. And Shigaraki's like, dude, what are these little pea shooters you're shooting at me? Like, come on. And he pretty much says, like, I'm not interested in you anymore. Like, there are way bigger fish to fry than you. You're a loser. Like, I'm here for one for all. Get away. Like, why are you still here? No one cares about you anymore. Just kind of like putting Bakugo to the side. And it's just like, yeah, no, Shigaraki's a big problem in this arc. It's going to take a lot to hurt him or damage him. And Bakugo doing AP shot, it's not really going to do anything. But that's kind of the first situation in My Hero Academia where Bakugo's been faced with, like, something he can't overcome easily. You know what I mean? Like, something that he really has to push himself and excel, like really, really push himself to a struggling point to do anything. And I feel like that's ultimately what leads to Bakugo's biggest moment in this arc, is what I would say his quirk awakening, right? Bakugo awakens his quirk in this arc. I'm not really going to go into any details into what that means or, you know, anything like that, but just know that Bakugo is put in a very, very difficult situation, I'll say. And I think the choice that he makes, it's not even really a choice, right? But the choice that he makes in that situation is going to be very, very popular with a lot of fans in the fandom. I think people are going to be going crazy when that moment happens. It's going to be trending and everything. A lot of people, manga readers, don't spoil it in the comment section below, but you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like that moment with Bakugo in this arc during the Shigaraki fight, right? So Bakugo is going to have an interesting journey over the course of this arc. It's definitely going to be a very, very great season, I'd say, for Bakugo fans. And I mean, if they include the Vigilante Deku arc, I mean, y'all are getting fed, right? Like, oh, imagine all the stuff that Bones might include in that. Like, I know they do add more slice of life stuff or like intermediary stuff. Even though they cut out a lot of important stuff, they do add in a lot of like subtle kind of side stuff to like flesh out the narrative or flesh out little moments sometimes. So I'm hoping we do get that if we see the Vigilante Deku arc. The tension between like Deku and Bakugo and their dynamic and everything in that arc, where their characters are going and where their characters have been and like what it's all led to, is very, very interesting in my opinion. So definitely look out for Bakugo and My Hero Academia Season 6. Look out for all of his biggest developments, and hopefully we'll talk about them here when they happen. But that's all. That's my Bakugo My Hero Academia Season 6 video. Let me know who you want to hear me talk about next. If there's any character specifically, we could talk about Shoto, we could talk about All Might, Stain. I mean, let me know. Let me know who you want it to be. But right now, this is Pineapple. I'll see you guys later. Peace.